Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. Great to be with you. It's Friday. I want to first of all invite all of you in my area, or even if you're not. If you're watching and you're in Hawaii or you're in Alaska, and you want to come visit our church on Sunday morning, come on over. We'll be there at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the start of the service. And we'll be live streaming at about 11:15 a.m. And we would love to have you wherever you are, but particularly, of course, more realistically, if you're in the Southeast Virginia area, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Newport News, even if you have to cross the water, as is considered to be such a big deal down here, Hampton, Newport News, Williamsburg, North Carolina. Come on up, come on down, come on over, come on across. Even if you have to cross the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, come on over. We'd love to have you 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. It's interesting, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure which way I'm going on Sunday. I've been so busy with the Stand Awards dinner that I haven't really been praying and meditating on, because I just finished up a series called The Path of Life, which ended with Resurrection Sunday. The path of life is power, and preach the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm going this time. I do have an inkling, but I'm not absolutely certain of it. But I want to remind everybody about our Stand Awards dinner coming up on May the 16th, and specifically that we have complimentary tickets available to you. The tickets are $150, folks, and believe me, we are not. We are just, for everybody who pays for dinner, that's what they're going to be paying for the dinner. I mean, they're going to be doing very little, if nothing, probably, for the organization. Just paying for the dinner, because these dinners are very, very expensive. By the time you're adding taxes and gratuity, it takes up pretty much that entire $150. Last year we charged $125, and we ended up losing money. Because I was thinking, well, of course the dinner's $125 will be enough to take care of the cost of the dinner. No, the dinner in some cases costs us more than $125. In fact, costs us more than $125 when you add in all the taxes and gratuities and all that stuff. So, in fact, this year well, never mind. I won't get into all that minutiae with you and all the weeds. But at any rate, there are honorees, wonderful, wonderful people. And you can go to our website, standamerica.us, and you can sponsor. Let me just say, folks, this is where we raise the money for our budget for about 6 months from the year. Okay, this is it, or it has been. Hope it proves that to be that this year. Sponsorships start at $2,000 and go all the way up to the $100,000 matching grant. It's because somebody else gave us this idea. It wasn't my idea. Somebody else gave us this idea by just spontaneously doing it, matching everything we raise. Said, if you raise $100,000, I will give you an additional $100,000. I'll match it. And I'll tell you what, that happened 2 years in a row, and it was really, those are the best fundraising times we had. So the sponsorships is where our money is raised. Although obviously we want people to come, we want people to enjoy it, we want people to be a part of the event, because our purpose is not to raise money. The purpose of this event is in part to raise money, but the purpose of our organization is not to raise money. The purpose of our organization is to serve people, serve our country, to serve people. But we need money to do it. Okay, we need money to do it. And so I hope that you all will support. If you can't sponsor or buy or donate a ticket, in other words, if you can't come, but you can't sponsor, well, you can make a donation of any amount, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks. Or you can buy a reserved table. A reserved table is $1,500. You can buy a ticket to the dinner and the reception. The reception's $75. The dinner's $125. To go to the dinner and the reception then costs $225 to do both, because food is being provided at both. And again, this food is expensive. But pray for us. No matter what you do, pray for us, because this is our largest fundraiser of the year. This is really where much of the budget of STAND comes from. And I just want to encourage you to keep praying for us and keep working with us, because we're doing important work. We're going to be focusing a lot on the Family Restoration Institute, which we've been in the process of development now for a couple of years. We would probably be further along if we had more of a budget to spend on that. So we're hoping people will donate for that to help us really get that up and running. But right now we're at the point where we've got the outline of our curriculum done, and within a matter of months we should be ready to start pushing that out to families, to churches, to schools, to organizations, and to businesses as well that want to use this to try to be a help to help strengthen families that may be represented in their institutions. I'm convinced the biggest social problem America has is the breakdown of the family. That's the big, President Trump has even gone to the extraordinary point of suggesting giving $5,000 to a family to have babies. And of course, people tried to racialize that and all that. But the reality is, folks, we're not having children in America anymore. Not having any children, but we are almost at the point of the negative curve where we're starting to have a decline in our population because fewer people are having children, and the abortion baby killing industry is so effective that it wipes out many of the children that would be born. It's wiping out over 1 million children a year. It's a genocide, really. They're killing 1 million babies a year. Planned Parenthood is killing 1 million babies a year. I said one time, the mainstream media just went berserk. I said Planned Parenthood had killed more black people than the Ku Klux Klan ever dreamed of killing. Now that's simply the truth. Planned Parenthood and the baby killing industry is killing 350 to 400,000 black babies every single year. Now, the Ku Klux Klan hasn't done that in their entire existence. So, am I wrong? Did I tell a lie? No, of course, people would say, well, those babies aren't people. Well, and that's a lie. There's the lie. So, at any rate, we've got a lot of work to do, and rebuilding the family is part of that work. And part, of course, the part of the undermining of the family is this virulent death cult that thinks killing unborn babies is something to be celebrated. It is a virulent death cult, and it undermines family because part of the family's role is to propagate, is to reproduce, to be fruitful, to multiply. It was God's command. And the leftist forces think that we've already got too many people on the planet, and they think killing unborn babies is something to be lauded. It's truly, these people are truly sick. They really are. They are truly sick. They don't just do it and then lament it. They do it and celebrate it. It's a great thing. How many unborn babies did we kill this year? I don't know. Over 1 million. Yay! We killed 1 million unborn babies this year. Isn't it wonderful? Sold some body parts. I know, folks. I know it's ugly, but I'm not making it ugly. I'm just telling the truth. It's just the truth about how Democrats have come to think about life, because they don't believe in God for the most part, and they just believe that we're evolutionary accidents. So who cares? What difference does it make that you kill an unborn baby? What's the big deal? And if it makes a woman's life more convenient, if it gives her the opportunity to go to school to pursue a career, that's bloodshed well worth it. Now, again, YouTube, Facebook, don't censor me. If I'm wrong, tell me. You tell me. If I'm wrong in saying that the left, the Democrat Party, and many of their allies have literally, I mean, it's not figuratively, literally celebrated killing unborn babies. Well, didn't Oprah Winfrey come up with it? Or maybe she didn't come up with it, but she certainly amplified it. Shout your abortion, meaning be proud of having killed your own progeny. Be proud of it. What'd you do yesterday? I killed my progeny. Really? Wow, that is great. Maybe you'll get to kill some more before it's all over. Yeah, maybe. I know, folks. I know. It's when you put it in those terms, it feels like you're exaggerating, but I'm not. I'm not. I told you I had a legislator from Vermont tell me at the National Association, tell the whole crowd at the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, a meeting several years ago, that in Vermont, they literally would have a party every year to celebrate Roe v. Wade and the killing of unborn babies. You say, well, you're referring to the killing of unborn babies. Well, isn't that what it is? I don't like the word abortion because the word abortion sanitizes it and euphemizes it. Because you might abort a military mission. If you abort a military mission, you might do so in order to save lives. The abortion doesn't save lives. Abortion takes lives. It's murder, ultimately. Now, I know it's not murder in the legal framework of our country, but I tell you what, when you stand before God, do you think it will be murder then? You better believe it will be. Because God said, as I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. And by the way, folks, I didn't mean to get into this deeply, but you may have heard me say this before, but I completely and totally and absolutely believe that every unborn baby is with God in heaven right now. That God saved the spiritual lives of those children and that they are growing up with him in heaven, and the people who kill those children will be confronted by them when they stand at the seat of judgment. And they're going to find out that they really were human beings. That they weren't just a blob, a blip on a screen. And that even though they destroyed their beautiful little bodies when they had gotten to a point where their bodies had taken shape, by ripping them apart, literally ripping them apart, ripping them out of their mother's uterus, they're going to find that they are intact and healthy and able to say, you killed me. Why did you kill me? Because Jesus said, God is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. Human beings weren't made to die. We were made to live. And there's not a single human being who's ever lived that is ever going to lose consciousness and go out of existence. You're going to spend eternity either with God in his eternal kingdom, when heaven and earth are joined together, or you're going to spend eternity in hell alone. The devil will be there, but you won't talk to him. And all of those who rejected God will be there, but you won't talk to them. You will be alone with your own sins, your own rebellion. People will be there alone with their own lies and murders and adulteries and thefts and all the things that they've done that they never repented for, received forgiveness for, refused the offer of redemption for, and they will live with that for all of eternity. And I really believe that when the Bible, Jesus said, the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched, I believe that the worms are a how can I put this? That the worms represent sin eternally eating away at a person who never was shed of it. Now, I got into all of that by talking about the fact that we're forming the Family Restoration Institute. And the Family Restoration Institute, of course, is decidedly pro-life, but we're also going to be focusing on other principles that have to do with how you build healthy families. So, because as I said, I know I came all the way around with this, but I really believe that the biggest social problem in America today is the breakdown of the family. Because it's feeding every other social problem that we have. It's feeding crime, it's feeding drug addiction, it's feeding suicide, it's feeding all kinds of antisocial behavior. Because people are not being raised in stable two-parent families with a mother and a father there. And then you've got the undermining of the family as God designed it by all these sexual deviants who think that basically two men can get married and two women can get married, and they can't. Yeah, that's right, I said it, they can't. They can get married in the sight of the devil, and they can get married in the sight of the law, but they can't get married in the sight of God. Because Jesus made clear in the beginning, he made them male and female. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and cling to his wife. There's nothing in there about a man leaving his father and mother and clinging to another man. Or a woman leaving her father and mother and clinging to another woman. That's an abomination. But, yeah, but the law allows it. And I understand that. Supreme Court said it's perfectly valid. They're wrong. They lied to themselves and lied to society and lied to the world. They overthrew 6,000 years of human history, and they overthrew several thousand years of biblical truth when they said that. Now we're going to see who's right, Supreme Court or God. You want to take a guess? I'll give you 3 tries, and the first 2 don't count. I mean, God is right. God is true. Let every man be a liar. And the Supreme Court just lied through their teeth. They lied when they issued that stupid thing about sexes, gender identity, and sexual orientation. They lied. Just made up a lie. So, the family, as God ordained it, is one man and one woman in the bonds of holy matrimony before God, raising their children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That's what a family is as God defines it. And that's what we got to come back to. And all these kids being raised by these single female-headed households, and I give, there's some women who are able to pull it off, but precious few. Precious few. And the guys who are out there in the inner cities committing these crimes, killing people, fighting each other, gang warfare, drug dealing, in and out of jail, most of these guys were raised in single-parent, female-headed households, some by mothers who tried their best and some by mothers who just didn't care very much. Because they're basically living the same chaotic life as many of the people around them, and they're bringing the child up in that, and the child doesn't know anything but chaos and destruction. And the whole society pays the price for it. I mean, did you see that there was a couple, was this out just outside of Chicago, or was this somewhere else? I didn't make note to talk about this, but 3 guys robbed this couple as they were going into their household. I think they did an interview with them on Fox. Robbed this couple, traumatized them at gunpoint, robbed them as they were going into their house. I guarantee you, I would almost bet dollars for donuts, and I don't gamble, but I'd almost bet dollars for donuts that every single one of those guys who did that, not a single one of them has a father in the home. And the data already proves that that's the case. I mean, that's how most of these guys are being raised. And once they get big enough, strong enough, that they can overpower their mother, and their mother is not an intimidating figure to them, then they start listening to some guy out in the streets who is. And then they start figuring robbing people, hurting people, drug dealing, joining a gang, all of that. That's now, I'm becoming a real man now. And they start terrorizing everybody else. The family is the root problem. And it started back in the 60s. You know, it was Barack Obama's, the guy who did the first fundraiser for him. Well, you all remember his name, but he was the one who coined the phrase, you know, first thing to do, kill your parents. Yeah, I mean, first thing to do, kill your parents. Now, of course, I don't think he meant that literally, but in a sense, he did, because what he meant was kill everything your parents represent. You're breaking from them. I mean, he's a good communist. So, in other words, break with your family. You don't need the family. And you know, and think about this, folks. I've said the Democrat Party is now a demonic cult. The Democrat Party is a demonic cult. What do cults always do? Cults always seek to separate people from their families. Because they know if your family's influencing you, it limits their ability to influence and control you. And so they want you to divide from your family so that they can have complete control over you. It's what the Communist Party does. And it's what the Democrat Party does. You know, all this stuff about not wanting to separate families of illegal aliens. They don't care about the families of illegal aliens. In fact, speaking of that, we finally have an admission by Adam Smith, Democrat Adam Smith. What's wrong with my notes here? Who said, Democrats don't want immigration reform, he said, in effect, because we want these people to stay here. I think he may be the first one to admit that. Because, you know, they don't ever really say that, but I've been saying it. And I say, I don't understand why Republicans don't say it. They want them here because they see them as a pathway to power. So Adam Smith says, and by the way, I think he might have been critiquing a little bit how Democrats think, but he was certainly admitting that Democrats want these illegal aliens in the country. They want them here. Where's the quote? Yeah, here we go. He says, one thing preventing Congress from passing legislation that would include stronger border security is a number of us believe that there are a lot of people in this country, undocumented, who should be allowed to stay. They have been a vital part of our economy. They are vital parts of our community. They are husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, working, paying taxes. We have depended upon their labor for decades. and to rip those families apart and send them back to countries that in many cases they don't even know, we believe would be wrong. So Democrats want a pathway to citizenship for some undocumented immigrants, and then a lot of us are wide open to talking about toughening the asylum laws. And that's what they really want. So, you could say, okay, if that's the case, who are you talking about? The people who just came last year? See, because it doesn't address that, does it? It doesn't address the fact, okay, if you believe that, Biden comes into office and he doesn't work to bring more illegal aliens in, he works to try to legalize the ones that are here. But that's not what they did, is it? What do they focus on? They focused on getting as many in the door as they could. Why? Because they see it as a pathway to power. Because that's what they really want. And notice he mentions families. They're families, ripping families apart. They don't care about families. Give me a break. Because again, if they cared about families, they would have been up in arms when these families have lost loved ones to the crimes of illegal aliens. They would have been up in arms about that and saying, oh, this is horrible. Just think about this. See, I've said this before too. I think there's a lot of psychopathy and a lot of Democrat influence that is sociopathic, meaning they don't really have normal feelings about things. Remember, psychopaths, sociopaths are so narcissistic that the only thing that matters is what they want. And so they don't really have the ability to empathize with other people. They pretend to, but they don't. Right? They don't have that ability. But they figure out how to act like they do so that people believe that they're normal, but in reality they don't have that empathy or have feelings for other people. And you would think, just as if you're a father, if you're a mother, even if you're a Democrat, and you see these young people murdered, tortured, raped by illegal aliens, you would say, oh, my heart goes out to these people, because what if it were my daughter? What if that were my son, right? I mean, that's what just a normal human reaction. But notice, you got none of that. Because I think that the Democrat Party has become so psychopath, so narcissistic that it for all practical purposes is a party of psychopaths. They don't think about the impact of things on other people. Oh, unless you are an MS-13 gang member who has been sent back to your home country. Now, my heart just breaks. Well, their hearts don't break for this guy, Garcia, whatever his name. Their hearts don't break for him. What they want to do is make a statement about their commitment to getting illegal aliens into our country. That's really what they're trying to convey. What happens to him is irrelevant. Sure, if they can get him back, great. It's a symbolic win, but they don't care about that young man. But they certainly do care about conveying to other illegal aliens, we are the ones who want you here, and we are the ones who will fight to get you here and keep you here. And just don't forget when the time comes to vote for us. Citizen or not, right? Doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or not. But again, you didn't see that outpouring for Laken Riley. You didn't see that outpouring for Jocelyn Nungaray. You didn't see that outpouring for Rachel Morin. You didn't see that outpouring for Kate Steinle. You didn't see that outpouring for Jamil Shaw or any of the hundreds of others who have been robbed, raped, tortured, murdered by illegal aliens. So, the Democrat Party really has become a demonic cult. Now, let me get into one other thing. You know, Donald Trump is still being accused of being a tyrant, a dictator, you know, being likened to Hitler, this, that, and the other, which is just totally preposterous. By the way, I will say this. I've always said I don't agree with him about everything, and if I don't agree with him about something, I don't mind saying that. I still support the man because I think he's doing a tremendous job for this country. I don't think Donald Trump ought to be talking about sending Americans to foreign prisons. I just don't think that's a good idea. I don't really care about sending vicious, bloodthirsty killers to foreign prisons. And in terms of what that means for them, but I really care about it in terms of it giving credence to this accusation that Donald Trump is somehow a lawless president. I mean, I think that the federal government could lawfully contract with anybody, anywhere, to take our prisoners. I don't think that would be unconstitutional. Once you become a prisoner of the criminal justice system, I think they have full latitude. I mean, they can't torture you, obviously. They can't kill you willy-nilly. You know, in other words, you can't be subjected to cruel and unusual punishment. That's unconstitutional. Supreme Court has said it is. But beyond that, I don't see any limits on what the federal government can do and where it can house you and how it can house you. If it entered into an arrangement with another country to send people to a prison in that country, I don't see how that would be a problem unless that country flouts our constitutional principles, and then somebody could show, yeah, by sending me to Nicaragua, you subjected me to torture, because in Nicaraguan prisons, they torture prisoners. But you can't torture prisoners in the United States of America because it's a violation of their constitutional rights. You can't do that. So I could see, you know, you couldn't send an American to a prison outside of our country where they're going to do things that are against the laws of our nation. But beyond that, I don't think that it's inherently unconstitutional to do so, but I think it is a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea because I think it just opens you up to those kinds of accusations. So leaving that aside for the moment, I mean, having said that, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Don't give them ammunition like that, in my view, Mr. President. Don't give them ammunition like that to say, you know, see, Donald Trump is, you know, he's a different breed. He's not a normal president. He's not one who adheres to the rule of law and that kind of all that kind of stuff, because it will invite all those kinds of accusations. Let's build prisons for them. If we need more prisons here in the United States of America, let's build them and let's put them in there. Let's build more maximum security and super max prisons to put some of these worst offenders in. I have no problem with that at all. Lock them up 23 hours a day, because they proved that they simply cannot be around other people without doing harm. No problem. Here's what I really want to get to, though, before I end the program. Donald Trump is not, this is what I started out to say, and that was just sort of a footnote. Donald Trump is not a threat to our constitutional republic. Donald Trump is not a threat. We're not a democracy, but okay, you want to use that word, wrong word, but no, he's not a threat to democracy. Donald Trump is not a potential dictator. Donald Trump is not Adolf Hitler. All this, again, this is just ridiculous nonsense that these people want to spew. But I'll tell you what is a real threat: judicial tyranny. Because the Democrats have figured out that what they cannot get done democratically, with a small d, in other words, by appealing to the American people, because when the American people understand what the Democrats represent, they reject them. as what happened in the last election. So you can't get it that way. You can't get it, therefore, by legislative means, because you end up losing the House and the Senate when they figure out who you really are and what you represent. And then you don't have the votes to pass legislation, and you lose the White House, and you don't have a president who's going to sign it. So what are you left with? Well, you're only left with two things: the judiciary and street violence. That's all you're left with. And the judiciary is trying, in effect, to become the de facto president of the United States and control the policies of the Trump administration. And frankly, dictate to the chief executive officer of the federal government and the commander-in-chief. And frankly, in my view, they do not have that constitutional authority. They need to start rejecting some of these cases and saying, well, we don't have jurisdiction. We can't tell the president how to conduct foreign policy, and we can't tell the president how to conduct military policy. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the Supreme Court shouldn't have anything to do with telling the president whether you can have sexual deviance in the military. Let's say that's an executive decision. That's up to the president of the United States. The judges can't run the military. Thank God. But this stuff of ordering the president, no, you're going to have homosexuals, you're going to have transgenders, and you're going to have every kind of sexual deviant. Well, what's next? I mean, if the word sex in the 1964 Civil Rights Act includes sexual orientation, includes gender identity, does it include pedophilia? That is, according to many of the homosexual activists now, that is a sexual orientation. They are MAPs, minor attracted persons. And we should not vilify them just because they're minor attracted persons. In fact, I read one article in Salon magazine that distinguished between tactile and non-tactile. In other words, pedophiles who want to touch children and molest children, and pedophiles who just want to look at them. And the ones who just want to look at them, they're no problem. Lord have mercy. So is that where we're going? Is that what some pinhead judge is going to say next? Now, wait a minute. You can't punish somebody for having a sexual orientation. And that's all sexual attraction to children is. It's just another sexual orientation. Folks, 40 years ago, I was arguing this, that the phrase sexual orientation can mean anything you want it to mean. So are furries now, is that a sexual orientation? People's sexual preoccupation and obsession with animals, is that a sexual orientation? The Bible calls it bestiality. And again, an abomination to God. Sorry, folks, I'm getting out of camera range here. Judicial tyranny, I think, is the great danger to the future of our constitutional republic. Because the more these judges try to make decisions that encroach upon executive authority and set precedents that suggest that they can do whatever they want to do and order the president to do whatever they want to do, the more the president just becomes a figurehead and a titular leader. The real leader becomes the judge who's ordering the president around. And who elected him or her? Nobody. Or them. Nobody. But yet they rise up on their judicial haunches in their judicial arrogance and think that they can tell the president to do what they wanted to do. I mean, I was reading a case where this judge was just excoriating the Justice Department, and you could tell the judge is a straight-up leftist by the language the judge was using. It wasn't couched in legal precepts. It was couched in personal invective. So they're telling the president now he can't do away with, when I say they, some of them are telling the president that he can't do away with DEI. In fact, one of them said the president treats DEI like they're bad words. Well, they are. They are. Did I ever read you this? I know it's almost time for me to go, but you know, I said this to my son. I think he might have been the only one I shared this insight with, that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the equivalent of crooked scales that are mentioned in the Bible. For example, Proverbs 11:1. There's another one, but Proverbs 11:1 says, dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Dishonest scales are where you weigh the scale improperly in order to get the result you want, as opposed to allowing the scales to speak honestly. Right? So you tip the scales in order to extort or, in effect, to steal from someone what you're not entitled to. Well, in this case, they're tipping the scales in order to give to someone what they're not entitled to. There's another one that says, this is Proverbs 20:10. Diverse weights and diverse measures, they are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Well, the Supreme Court, not Supreme Court, but this appeals court said, you treat diversity, equity, and inclusion like they're bad words. Well, they are bad words because they involve dishonest scales. They involve diverse weights and measures. Every person ought to be subject to the same evaluation. And every person ought to be subject to the same standards for the outcome of that evaluation. And to do something different than that is to use diverse weights and diverse measures. And this says both alike are an abomination to the Lord. Weights and measures. So in other words, giving added weight to somebody because of the color of their skin, that's a diverse weight. Or telling one person, you got to score a 90 on the test to be eligible for this job, and another person, you only have to score a 70. That's a diverse measure. But you got these judges lecturing the president like, you're acting like these are bad words. Yeah, you pinheads, they are bad words. You just haven't understood. So I think judicial tyranny is the real threat of authoritarianism and anti-democratic behavior in our country, where these judges think that they somehow got promoted to God. And they can transcend the constitutional system that we have, which gives the president authority over the executive branch. Now, look, again, I'm not denying judges the right to decide cases and controversies. What I just shared with you about what these judges are saying, that they're not deciding cases and controversies. They're kind of expressing their own personal opinions. To decide a case and controversy is to say, between two people, has one or the other of those persons violated the law? Is one or the other of those persons entitled to relief because the law was violated, or their rights were violated, or they were treated unlawfully? Are they entitled to relief? And if so, what is that relief? And you provide a judicial order for that relief. You don't get to come in and say, I'm going to change the policies that by which this agency is run and by which that agency operates. And that's not deciding cases and controversies. That's deciding policy. That's really, in effect, passing legislation. That's judicial activism on steroids. And President Trump has been subjected to that. I mean, this stuff has got to stop. It has got to stop. Because, again, the Democrats have figured out, I can't get the American people to go along. I can't pass legislation. What can we do? There's only two things we can do. We can behave violently in the streets to try to intimidate people into bowing to our will, or we can get some judge to force people to bow to our will. Who's the real threat here? It's not Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump. It is the judiciary, and it is the Democrats who have completely discarded the Constitution of the United States of America and decided the only thing that matters is power, how to get it, how to keep it, and they'll use anything, use anybody, they'll discard anything, they'll trample anything, the Constitution, the Declaration, the rule of law, anything, in order to get and keep power. They're the threat, not Donald Trump. Not Donald Trump. So look, folks, that's going to do it. It's Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you're in my area, seriously, come visit us. We're at 943 Canal Drive in Chesapeake, Virginia. We'll have services at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And like I said, I don't know what my message is going to be this coming Sunday, to tell you the truth. I just finished up a series, and I've been so busy with this Stand Awards dinner that I haven't really had time to think about what I'm going to be preaching. But I'll be thinking about it now because I'm going to be preaching in 2 days from now. So, but support our Stand Awards dinner in whatever way you can. Go to standamerica.us to learn more. Oh, and of course, we have complimentary tickets available, up to 4 per person. 4 per family, not per person. 4 per family on a first come, first served basis until we run out. And we've got complimentary tickets provided by American Family Radio, complimentary tickets provided by Andrew Womack Ministries, and we have complimentary tickets provided by our other wonderful sponsors. So if you want to go, now's the time before it is too late. We are going to run out. I have no doubt about that. We are going to run out of tickets, but right now we have some available. We have seating available, and we want to make those available to you, supporters of my ministry, supporters of those ministries, and supporters of Stand. We want to make sure that you can come if you want to come. So go to standamerica.us. By the way, to reserve those tickets, just email awardsdinner@standinc.net, awardsdinner@standinc.net, and just say, if you're an AFR listener, if you're Andrew Womack watcher, or you're just a person who supports Stand, you can make reference to those if you're specifically coming under those umbrellas. But if you just want, you're a supporter of Stand, you just want a ticket, let us know. We can accommodate a family of more than 4, but we need to know that. We need to make special provision for that. So you have to let us know that. You can't just do that online. Online, you can get only 4 tickets. You'd have to call us at 757-375-6444, 757-375-6444, and say, hey, I need 5 tickets for my family or 6 tickets for my family. Do you have enough for me? And we'll, in that case, we'll see what we can do beyond the 4. Okay? All right, folks. Well, listen, you know what to do. We're not finished with this battle by any stretch of the imagination. We got violence on the one hand. We got judicial tyranny on the other hand. You got school systems like what Maryland is doing right now on the third hand, if you will, just telling parents, we're going to force you. We're going to force you to subject your children to what we want them to know, whether you like it or not. So, yes, you got it. We got to stand up, step up, speak up, and refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. God bless.